So, Master Shraw, you've allowed us into your domain to ask some questions.
Let me turn on the lights.
Of course, Master.
Isn't that better?
Yes.
Ask away.
Well, firstly, there has been some controversy regarding the latest ritual that you have organized. We wanted to get your justification for what happened.
There's always going to be controversy surrounding the truth. I don't have to do anything about this, or my thinking about it isn't in terms of that there's something wrong or there's a problem. I am not the engineer of the world.
And yet, the courts have decided to hear the case against you.
Of course, they always do. I enjoy it. I enjoy the legal process.
Well, that's very brave of you, considering that some of the top legal experts...
Do you know why I enjoy it?
Why?
Because it's a battleground. And you always learn from the battleground more than you learn from the time of victory. Or even in defeat, which is very... Well, they say one learns most from defeat, which is not true. In the beginning of life, one learns most from victory.
So you're saying you welcome the opportunity to make the case for your innocence in the courts?
It depends how the stars will see it fit, but I will make the case for whatever is necessary.
And what about what the alleged victims have been saying?
The fact that they have been saying anything at all proves already that they are no victims of any kind. The world is full of... This earth is all paved with victims, with the soil we eat. The soil that goes into the things we eat. So, directly the corpses of victims. People who are walking around and going into legal buildings and asking for consultations aren't technically victims in my book. But if they want to call themselves this, we'll see what the jury will find to be interesting enough to believe in the end. Truth is, after all, usually more interesting than one thinks. It's sometimes very obvious and sometimes it's very... Do you know what it is to be interesting and obvious at the same time?
Interesting and obvious?
Yes. Because that is always the case with truth. If it is obvious. And then there's obvious things that are not interesting, and then, there's lies.
Are you saying someone, there might be lying involved in some of the allegations against you?
There's lying involved in the psyches of the people who conjure up the allegations against me, or who even in the full light of their conscience feel justified or unjustified in not prosecuting me. There is certainly, but in the allegations themselves, there's only truth about what they think about the world and themselves and myself, and what has transpired between my co-workers and them. They were in the care, they had placed themselves in the care of certain individuals who had made it clear through a series of voluntary initiation sessions what the perimeters of the experiment or the ritual were going to sort of look like. Sort of. I know sort of is a very dangerous word, but we signed a contract, they signed a contract.
Some of them are now saying that you prevented them from reading the contract and assured them that their spiritual health was dependent on signing.
We videotape every contract signing sessions. We always get this sort of complaints. We make sure that we can prove that this is not the case.
Well, Master, you've also been extremely influential in the last 15 years in establishing a current of thought that many find threatening to their views. And
this is the point. This is the point, my friend. This is why it's politics. Why it's not entertainment. Which video outlet are you with?
I am with a network called The Network. We are an online television channel.
Many angles of interest in such matters. So what do you think? What is your analysis of the story so far?
Well, from what we've been able to gather, many of the victims have been coherent in the different stories they tell. From what we've heard of the police, it was the same story they each told before consulting with each other. On the other hand, we've also covered other cases of this nature, and there is obviously a money incentive for any alleged victim to prosecute. All we want to know is, how is it that these organizations and these kinds of activities tend to provoke such legally heavy consequences? Precisely because your writing and your teachings have been so influential for so many people.
Jealousy. An order like mine is built of privileged people who have overcome the need to find certainty and security in their joys. Understand that insecurity, uncertainty are the very fertile ground from which all sorts of joys grow. And they're in the possession of permanence because there is a community in which I also give directions and I give the tools to keep the joy alive even in the face of all this vulnerability. And there are those who simply are too scarred and wounded to partake in, or it might be that during the process in which they try to overcome themselves, something in them shirks back and shuts a door, and they turn back. And when they turn back, the problem is there really isn't a turning back, and this is in the contract. There's a very clinical outline. Also, we've made sure that we've included a list of the medicines usually used to treat conditions related to this. We've been legally, we've lost about $120 million the last 20 years on pharmaceutical legal suits alone. So we sort of know, the cost of letting in a new member. And we've explicated this in the contract that the risks once one decides to enter the fifth state of initiation, the risks are all the psychological risks, the pain that might follow psychologically because there's no physical harm, are all under the responsibility of the neophyte.
Well, Master Shraw, thank you so much.
Most welcome. My friend, what is your name again?
My name is Petraki Jones, with the network.
The network. It sounds good. I like the name, The Network. I hope you have a lot of good fortune on your path, and try to keep doing stories that are where there's an angle that you might be the first one to catch.
We will certainly try, Master. Thank you so much for your time.